Welcome to a very special explainer. Today we're doing something, well, something just incredibly beautiful. We are exploring the powerful, sacred legacy of Alameda Sue Griffin/Evans in honor of her 65th birthday. Now, this isn't just your standard biography, it's really more of a cinematic look at a spiritual blueprint. We're going to dive into what it truly means to build a generational legacy and see how one woman's profound devotion can teach all of us how to weather the storms in our own lives through sheer faith and endurance.
Honestly, the entire foundation of this story can be boiled down to two profound sentences. She prayed through the night, she lived to see the morning. This single thought acts as the guiding light for our entire journey today. It helps us understand a life that is defined by an absolutely unconquerable spirit. We aren't talking about a life that somehow magically dodged the darkness, but rather a life that met that dark with unwavering, enduring faith.
To really wrap our heads around the depth of her testimony, we're going to follow this gorgeous, almost cinematic progression today. We'll move from the night of the unknown, down to the kneeling in prayer, through the dawn of emerging hope, into the morning where the children are becoming, all the way to the visible harvest, and finally, the brilliant sunrise of her next chapter.
Section 1. The Woman Who Prayed.
So, before we get into the history or the major milestones, we actually have to start with her knees. We have to ask what it means for a mother to become a spiritual covering over her family. See, Alameda couldn't control every single storm that came toward those she loved, but she used prayer as this multifaceted anchor. When a crisis hit, prayer wasn't just some quiet, passive thought. It was active spiritual warfare and vital protection. When sorrow threatened to overwhelm her home, prayer became the safe vessel that actually held her grief. And in moments of joy, it was her language of thanksgiving. Through pure persistence, she didn't just pray for her family's immediate needs. She used intercession to weave a generational inheritance, knowing exactly how to guide them to safety when the winds started to howl.
And that brings us to this crucial idea of the remnant. Now, a remnant isn't something that never suffered or was completely untouched by life storms. No, it is what remained after the storm passed. This perfectly captures her unconquerable spirit. It's a life that experienced real weariness and profound grief, but absolutely never abandoned faith. Through it all, she just kept praying.
Section 2. The Woman God Placed in Tulsa.
You know, you really can't fully appreciate a legacy without understanding the specific world it was born into. Alameda was born on August 22, 1961, right in Tulsa, Oklahoma. When we consider that convergence of historical facts, we have to ask ourselves, what kind of immense spiritual strength was required of a black woman growing into adulthood during such a transformative, demanding generation in America? She inherited the heavy but incredibly beautiful legacy of black resilience. She navigated the massive cultural shifts of the civil rights era, and she was molded by the deep, anchoring traditions of the black church. Her prayer life didn't just pop up out of nowhere. It was forged in the fire of a community that knew prayer was sometimes the only shield they had.
Now, if we look at her beginnings through a slightly more poetic lens for reflection, starting with her birth month of August, the 8th month, the number 8 actually symbolizes a profound biblical pattern of new beginnings and continuation. It mirrors her constant ability to just start anew through faith no matter what the circumstances were.
Then we have our actual birthday, the 22nd. This offers us a profound meditation on building, on structure, and on completion. It really makes us think deeply about exactly what one generation sacrifices to construct a solid foundation for the next one to stand firmly upon.
And the year? 1961. Her life literally bridges eras. It asks us what it truly means to carry the hard-won lessons, the cultural memory, and the intense resilience of an entire generation forward into a brand new century.
Which brings us to today, reaching her 65th birthday. This number isn't just an age, it's a beautiful, joyous threshold. It represents profound wisdom, spiritual freedom, faithful stewardship, and a visible legacy that she can finally witness and celebrate with her own two eyes.
Finally, there's this recurring reflection of the number 11 in her birth calculations. It gives us a poetic language for contemplating her deep spiritual attentiveness and her incredible sensitivity as a witness to God's grace acting in her family's life.
Section 3. A Chorus of Spiritual Witnesses.
Because here's the thing, Alameda's journey does not stand alone. It is in deep historical conversation with a spiritual chorus of biblical women whose faith literally became a shelter for others. When we look at their stories, we see the exact same attributes mirrored directly in Alameda's own testimony. We see Hannah's soul-pouring, desperate prayer for her child. We see Esther's immense courage under cultural pressure. We see Anna's patient faithfulness in waiting, Naomi's resilient faith after profound loss, and Mary's ultimate trust in a plan vastly larger than herself. Alameda stands shoulder to shoulder with this enduring tradition of women who changed their families' destinies through simple obedience.
Section 4. Motherhood as Spiritual Architecture.
Let's bring it in close here and explore the real structural impact of her role as a mother. There is the visible foundation, right? It's what her children saw every day, the warm meals, the practical advice, the daily expressions of love, the routines. But beneath all of that is an invisible architecture. You might not always see the true foundation being laid, but a mother's unseen prayers in the middle of the night, her quiet sacrifices, and her persistent spiritual intercessions, they create an invisible house. It's a fortress that her family can safely live inside for generations, long after the visible work is done.
Section 5. The Son Who Looked Back.
To truly grasp this invisible architecture, we have to hear directly from a witness who actually lived inside it. Her son Marcus puts it so powerfully. He says, "Before I understood legacy, I was living inside hers." He realizes that his own spiritual infrastructure today, his intense focus on lineage and community, well, they were built by a woman whose faith existed long before he even had the words to describe what she was doing for him.
And that realization leads him to a deeply emotional question. How many prayers did my mother pray that I am only now beginning to understand? I mean, wow, that carries the immense weight of a son recognizing that his very life, his safety, and his entire trajectory are the direct fruit of his mother's secret, continuous conversations with God in another room.
Section 6. The Season of Harvest.
Reaching 65 isn't just a cultural cue to slow down or fade into the background. Not at all. It is a massive, profound transition into a season of spiritual and familial harvest. This milestone represents a beautiful shift. Perhaps the woman who spent decades acting as a fierce spiritual covering for others can finally enter a season where she allows herself to be completely covered. Covered by the very family, community, love, and rest that she spent her entire life cultivating.
So the remnant remembers what was. It gives thanks for what is, and it prepares what shall be. We look back today to honor the woman who endured the history. We celebrate the woman who remains today in profound gratitude. And we bless the woman who continues becoming, standing out there in the open field of her future, diligently preparing what shall be.
I think Marcus's final beautiful blessing just perfectly encapsulates this entire explainer. This is a celebration not just of 65 years on Earth, but of every single unseen, whispered prayer that helped make those years possible. It celebrates a bright morning that is still, by God's grace, unfolding.
As we wrap up this explainer and really reflect on Alameda's incredible legacy of faith, we are left with one incredibly powerful question to ask ourselves. What invisible spiritual architecture are you building today for the generations that will follow you tomorrow? Her life is the blueprint. Now, it's our turn to start building.